That just speaks to the quality of the PlayStation 1's library, that these games are in the loser's bracket.
Get the f out of here. Get the ape escape my ass.
3 games that arguably could have, or should have made it to the winners' finals, but who will win now? Today, Jim Caddick, Barry Kramer, Gerard Khalil, and Shane Gill join me, Forrest Lee, as we decide which of these games moves on to the losers' finals. It's Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Silent Hill, and Final Fantasy IX, and this is Madness.
Welcome to round 1 of the losers bracket of the PlayStation Madness PS1 thing. We got some titans in this bracket. Somehow it's Castlevania versus Final Fantasy IX, and also Silent Hill, I guess.
This is the losers bracket?
This is the losers bracket.
Wow, Jar must be really upset right now.
And you know what's funny? I've actually just realized, now I think about it, all the comments are going to be people really pissed off with us. That's one thing.
Yes.
And also,
not with us.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if I haven't voted for something that's easily better, it's because I haven't played the game. I'm just sticking to my.
I think I've justified myself.
Yeah, I think that's.
I'm confident.
I think integrity is important.
You know what's clearly the best game out of these 3? Final Fantasy IX.
Why?
I hate all of you. I'm out.
The best of
oh, he's out.
The best of the losers bracket.
Yeah.
The internet will dig and dig and dig, and they'll pull this conversation and then connect the dots in the webs, which is why we all have to agree.
The Final Fantasy IX
is a badass game, and all you were wrong.
Yeah.
Well, but
I will say,
it was for the bit. It was for the bit.
For the bit.
There's no bit.
How dare? How dare?
How dare?
How dare?
How dare?
How dare?
Chowder?
Can we agree on one thing at least? Silent Hill is not even competing.
So we found.
I think it's Castlevania versus Final Fantasy.
We found with these 3-way matchups that usually we kind of just like stretcher one, and we're like, "Hey man, you did good, but you're bleeding out." And
well, it didn't do good. He's in the losers bracket.
Just like Final Fantasy IX.
Well, made it to what? The top 12.
Yeah, that's an accomplishment.
Made it into the series.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the moment we got our hands on it, we just shook it and threw it out.
Metal Gear is better.
The moment we got our hands on it, Caddy talked about it for like 15 minutes straight, and then we decided.
Yeah, I know. That's madness.
Look, here's the motherfucking deal. All right, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is probably the game that should have won first place, but it did not.
It didn't,
because Resident Evil 2 somehow became the better game, even though it looks like a piece of shit in today's standards. So
hey, we're not talking about Resident Evil.
With that said, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is the game that's going to win this motherfucking losers bracket.
You're saying it's better than Final Fantasy IX, the best game ever made.
You all. You all. Look, I realize that I can't save the Final Fantasy IX train because you guys have not played it.
This is your chance to save it right now.
No.
The best of the worst.
Excuse me, did you remember the episode in which I gave great reasons why Final Fantasy IX was great, and all you guys kept telling me was that the gameplay from Ape Escape was good? Like, I gave in response to that, I gave valid narrative reasons, graphic reasons, great plot reasons, incredible gameplay
and I remember meeting you tit for tat with Ape Escape.
You just said the gameplay was good. That's not a reason. So I have decided.
It's better.
I have decided that in this case, I'm stretching both Final Fantasy IX and I'm stretching motherfucking Silent Hill. Well, and I'm focusing in on Castlevania.
We have at least 17 more minutes, so we have to
because
talk.
Castlevania.
Gerard.
Yeah.
Why do you think Castlevania is the best out of these 3 games? I want give me
one category and I'll fucking wreck it.
RPG mechanics.
Yeah.
How about this?
Oh, actually, that's a good comparison. I would talk about the RPG elements in Castlevania and how they compare to Final Fantasy and how you feel. Why is it better in Castlevania? If you believe that, I don't know if you actually believe that.
I don't think it's. I can't say that the games are better than each other because it's like it's like comparing a chocolate mousse to a cheesecake. They're both delicious. I mean, it depends on what you like. Some people prefer cheesecake to mousse, right? That's just how it is. If we are talking about why Castlevania has great RPG elements, it's the fact that it's the hack and slash genre we know of Castlevania, platforming, using items and whatnot, turned into an RPG where the further you get into the game, the better you get in the game. When you telegraph enemies and you destroy their projectiles and you learn how to beat them, you get drops, you get levels, and you become stronger, and you snowball into the motherfucking son of Dracula, and you murder everyone. And by the end of the game, you turn into a dog, you become a bat, you turn into mist, you are unstoppable, and the game is fun, and the bosses get tough as you go along. This game is massive, it's huge, it's great, capitalizes all the great points of what an action RPG could be, and it established the entire genre of a motherfucking Metroidvania. Everyone always talks about Metroidvania, and they say, oh, Metroid. The Vania aspect came from Symphony of the Night. The fact that Bloodstained is like the coming out and is like this return to form, it's incredible. It's one of the best games out there.
Well, aren't they calling them like Igavanias, or is that a whole separate thing?
Iga being the director.
Right.
Iga's the director.
So is an Igavania just a Castlevania or a Metroidvania directed by
essentially,
Iga?
yes.
Okay.
That's
okay. It's not like a bigger genre.
Can we agree to rename them now to Metroid Stanias now that Bloodstained is coming out?
Sounds gross.
Yes, it does.
The music in Castlevania, it is one of the best series for music.
We even talked about it last time.
Yeah, but
even Sakurai.
No, guys, do you know
No,
what?
I said the music was great.
Sakurai is yo, this music's dope.
No, Castlevania has some of the best music in the video game industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But then
all the music in Symphony of the Night eats Resident Evil 2 for breakfast. It wakes up and goes, "This is mine," and consumes it.
I don't remember what I voted for. I think I voted for something. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But the point is that it's a travesty that we're at this point.
the
The game is great.
Yeah.
What is a man?
We voted Resident Evil 2 because Resident Evil 2's hype as fuck.
Yeah, it was pretty hype. And Castlevania's a really slow start, which isn't fair.
Yeah,
You know what else doesn't have a very
like I actually
Final Fantasy 9
Final Fantasy 9
for the Sony PlayStation. Fraser's very upset.
Final Fantasy 9 has a very slow start. A very slow start.
Since Strahd has the most experience with Final Fantasy 9, I think he has the better comparison here. Which game is the most fun to explore since these two games are both big? Notice how I said two games and not three.
But there's a third game in this matchup?
No.
I think it depends what the experience is looking for, right? Because Final Fantasy 9 is a bit more linear until you get to certain points of the game. You're kind of like on a trajectory of like this narrative. Whereas with Symphony of the Night, it's actually Symphony of the Night is kind of linear too. It kind of tricks you into thinking that it's open world, but really,
it's just a bit of backtrack.
It's like every Metroidvania where it guides you where you want to go,
and then you go back to an area, and then you go through another linear area, and then you go back through.
So I think Symphony of the Night does it a bit better than most Metroid games do, and because Metroid games are pretty clear about like you can't go on or you need this colored door or this colored weapon, right? But Symphony of the Night, I think a combination of not only having the items but snowballing. Like you can enter a corridor where there's a really buff enemy and you're like, I can't kill this enemy. Obviously, I'm not supposed to be there. Or you can be a purveyor of skill and sit there for 15-20 minutes and beat on one.
Or transform into a bat and fly over the thing,
or you can turn into a dog and just bark at it and jump over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so many variants.
You know what else has jumping dogs? It's Silent Hill.
You say jumping dogs?
Yeah, they fly. They fly. They're super.
They look like they are.
It's Crypto the Super Dog.
And about like the Great Nutcracker's playing, and they're like.
Yeah, they float.
Listen, honestly, I just brought it up for the SEO.
of Silent Hill or jumping dogs?
Silent Hill SEO.
Silent Hill SEO.
Yeah, it's popular.
Thanks, Konami, for keeping it around. We appreciate you.
Hideo Kojima. Okay, we're good.
Final Fantasy 9 has awesome summons. It has incredible music, easy to do gameplay, interesting character designs. What are you gonna say, Barry?
So I'm trying to think about like the legacy of both of these games as well, because I think
that's a good point.
We keep talking about how Symphony of the Night was like it didn't redefine the Metroidvania genre, but I think it helped evolve it and expand that genre a bit.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 9. How important is that game to the greater Final Fantasy series?
I think according everyone who worked on that game said it was less of like a new start and more like a last hurrah. So it didn't really lead to anything.
More like a last
final
swan song of the.
It was going back to their roots and sort of reimagining an old school Final Fantasy for a new generation.
Perfecting the best.
Yeah, I think every Final Fantasy after this one kind of like it took the Tetsuya Nomura vibe. And even 14, which has a lot of stuff drawn from the
they haven't really done something like 9 since 9.
Yeah.
Whereas they've kind of evolved.
9 was the last true classic traditional Final Fantasy we've seen.
Is there a reason then why, as someone who grew up with PS1, I didn't grow up with anything Nintendo, is there a reason then why, you talking about legacy, why is it that you always hear, because from what you guys say, it sounds like 9 is better than 7. but why is it you always hear about 7? Is it because of the impact at the time?
7's plot and the introduction of the narrative is what makes it. It's like watching The Matrix versus watching John Mars.
John Wick.
Not John Wick. No.
What?
The idea is that like The Matrix told a great story and it was very cohesive and very to the point, and then like a next newer version of The Matrix came out, and it's like
that's the thing you always hear about. Talk about PS1 games, you get Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and then Final Fantasy 9 is not one that jumps immediately.
I think it partly broke through because they ditched the chibi aspect and it looked more adult, and the PlayStation audience was like late teens.
And it was the first game that looked like that. It had all these pre-rendered backgrounds, cutscenes, and CG.
Yeah, I think SquareSoft, and I say SquareSoft because that's who they were at the time, Squaresoft's entire philosophy of art design, direction, cinematography, they made these games to be played like a film. You can see in the way that the camera moves and the CG and the expressiveness between characters interacting that the art direction and the presentation of these games almost took a forefront. But the forefront aspect was subjugated because of the fact that the narrative was strong and relatable for many people. In the case of Final Fantasy IX, it's a bit complicated at first, but as the game goes on, it does something clear that most games forget to do, which is clear objective, clear goals, and clear wants for everyone in the story. In Final Fantasy VII, that you have to unpack a lot of things to figure out, who's Cloud, blah, blah, blah. But in 9, it's very clear from start to finish. You have a good team of people who care about each other, who care about progress, and want to do good.
So it's a more digestible narrative.
Correct. It's more digestible.
I'm assuming 7 sold better.
I think 7 I think is the best selling of all time.
How late did 9 come out on the PlayStation's lifespan? And I wonder if that had something to do with...
I want to say 99. 99 might be... 99, yeah, I think it's...
Thanks, off camera.
Thank you, Frage. Yeah, I think it came out in 1999.
Okay.
Which was pretty... I think PS2 came out 2000, something like that?
Yeah,
2001.
Yeah, so it was...
Not like tail end, but like getting there.
Yeah.
So
it's the last hurrah.
And there's definitely more competition at that stage in the PS1's life cycle. So maybe that's something to do with it.
9, I think is a fan favorite because it takes all of the cool art direction we've got from 7 and 8 and all the interesting, fascinating story elements from 7 and 8 with the digestible gameplay and incorporation of classic mechanics from the original Final Fantasies to create the most cohesive and digestible experience possible on the PlayStation. Objectively speaking, Final Fantasy VIII is not... I don't like that game. Most people don't like that game. It's kind of on the lower end.
It had a gunblade, though.
Right, and Squall had a scar on his neck, on his face.
Super badass.
And he also barely talked because he said ellipses every 10 seconds because the game wasn't 100% translated as it could be. But you look at 8 and 9, and you look at 9 and goes, 9 looks better. Like you look at 7 and 9 and you go, 9 looks better. By the time 9 came out, they had learned from all their mistakes from a visual and artistic perspective and applied it to 9.
That's what's so impressive is 9 almost looks like a PS2 game.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Right.
Well, and absurdly impressive.
And like a couple years ago, they found 4K file sizes for all the renderings. In 1999 is when it came out.
That's why it took them 5 weeks to render every shot.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Another thing they only found a few years ago was an entire side quest.
Yeah, that's right.
Really?
For real?
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was like a side quest where like I think it was like maybe a mistake in the translation, like that didn't properly clue the player into what they had to do to unlock the side quest in the English version.
But it was in the game.
Yeah, it was only found or like popularized in the past couple of years.
You know what Final Fantasy IX does have, though, that Castlevania does not? Is a card game that you have to play that is stupid.
I will say, I think it's called Tetramaster. That's right. Tetramaster is not the most fun. I feel like the one in 8 was actually a little more refined. They made it complicated and worse, and I think and it does force you narratively to play the card game, unlike 8, where it's more of an optional side quest.
Do they force you to win? Frasier, do they force you to win?
I think the idea behind it, though, is the idea behind that, and I don't necessarily agree with the design philosophy, but I think the idea behind it is we created this side mechanic that people may or may not be into. Let's give them a chance in the story to play it to see if they like it.
Yeah.
They did that with Blitzball and Final Fantasy X. They forced the user to play Blitzball because they keep talking about Blitzball the whole game. And so...
in Final Fantasy 15, they forced you to sit in the car.
It's a pretty good car.
It's a nice car. You
Yeah.
you sit there and listen to Final Fantasy
I think
music.
the 90s were a weird time of like, for RPGs where they wanted to put in so much stuff, which in itself is admirable. And I think modern games have kind of learned not to force people to do all that. Like games like The Witcher have the card games in them too. You don't have to play them though.
Well, I think in today's society, card games are designed for that iOS capital exchange. They're trying to be like, if we make a card game like Hearthstone, it can be on every major platform, and then you can take it from the game.
Everywhere.
I mean, if you look at Final Fantasy 15, there's like literally 4 mini games in Final Fantasy 15 you can download right now on your motherfucking phone and keep playing. And it's just
there was the one you could play in like the diner arcade. That was kind of crappy.
There's a couple that are like that, and it's like it's just the idea behind it is like the extended universe of Final Fantasy 15 can be taken on the phone with you playing the games that you would play in the.
Whenever I play an RPG like that, and there's like this side mini game thing, and it's not a one-off like you're doing this for this part of the story. I'm just kind of like, all right. I'm very rarely like, ooh, I want to dive into this. It's like it's a distraction on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And if I was bored of the game, I wouldn't play a game within the game. I'd play a different game.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say that time is spent wasted, and if people enjoy that side mini game, then more power to them. But you know, it's like, oh, I can just spend forever in this game. That's a good thing. But you know, looking at Final Fantasy IX, where people are like, yeah, the mini game sucks. It's like it's unfortunate they force you to play it.
We've talked a lot about Final Fantasy. What do you think Castlevania does that sets it above Final Fantasy?
Voice acting.
What is a voice?
I think it's so hard. It's like saying you want a burger or pizza, right? Both things are really good for their own reasons, and they're both really, really awesome. But I think what makes Symphony of the Night more appealing to me is it's easier to pick up. And play,
that's exactly gonna say
where
that,
you're not in a narrative sense, right? Like my biggest gripe with Final Fantasy IX is that every time I've picked it down and picked it up again, it's like, oh, I forgot where I was. And so you have to like look at the town, look at the characters, talk to people, and get reacquainted with what's going on.
It's before the day of like, oh, I have a list of everything else in the middle.
Basically, Symphony of the Night is more video gamey.
I mean, you have a map. You know, you have the ability to kind of see where your next location is, and exploration. Symphony of the Night doesn't hold your hand, but it's because the playground is acceptable to not hold your hand in. You can just explore, walk around, and have a good time, and fight secret bosses and monsters that show up in your way. You can power level, you can farm for the Grisagrim,
But there's also the difference between if you get a kick out of strategy or if you get a kick out of skill-based stuff. Like reactionary and it's action versus I don't know. It's kickball.
I mentioned it last time how a JRPG I'm trying to be as objective this time as possible. Last time it was a bit. I'm sorry. When I see stuff like Final Fantasy, where just watching you playing 10 is like, I have no idea what's going on. Like so many menus, and I just can't. Like the numbers mean nothing.
Right, but
and just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that format. It's just not something I prefer. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please.
No.
I just wanted to.
But that's the same with me. Yeah, it's not my personal jump to taste. But
the biggest thing about every Final Fantasy game, it's like it's you have to kind of treat it like it's a book or a film, where you should probably play it from start to finish in succession.
Well, that's the disadvantage with Final Fantasy, right? Because with a book, you can just leave a bookmark in.
Correct.
But with Final Fantasy, you're like, okay, where did I leave off? And you can't check.
There's
where
15
and also, and you can't get stuck reading a book unless there's a very difficult sentence and you just can't read the word, and you need to look up online how to pronounce that word.
Yes, I agree in all those things, but I think what most people who play Final Fantasy do is they when they do put it down, they want to come back and play it again. And I think that addictive nature of... we consume games all the time that way, right? We're always playing something. When Persona 5 came out, the world stopped and was like, we need to get a 120-hour RPG under our belt before it gets spoiled for the internet and just play it. Everyone who's experiencing that, let's do this now. That's what it was for us who played Final Fantasy back in the day. So when we played games like 7 and 9, we marathoned in that same way. The difference is that the newer stuff is way more appealing and way more optimized.
Yeah.
But people forget that that newer stuff, the optimization everyone loves, had to start somewhere. And 7, 9, 8, 6, all the ones before it were one of the main reasons as to why the evolution happened, because they refined it and they were inspired and they created it, and that's why people love RPGs to this day. That's why it's still relevant.
There's something innately satisfying about seeing numbers go up.
There is.
We're gonna have to start wrapping up here. Does anyone have any final points they want to throw out for Castlevania or Final Fantasy, or I guess Silent Hill?
I haven't played Final Fantasy 9 as much as I played not Silent Hill, as much as I played Symphony of the Night. But I feel like I can still make a conclusion that Symphony of the Night just has a far better feel and atmosphere to it. Like, it feels completely crafted, and they had a complete understanding of what that game was going to be as they were making it. That's all I gotta say about that.
I mean, I'm there with you. Yeah. That I'm not usually one for RPGs, and I'm also not usually one for like traditional Western medieval fantasy. This game is both of those. I think maybe after I retire and I have free time, I'd love to go play it. Just don't have the time to play something like that right now, and that's a shame. Yeah, Final Fantasy. Yeah. Whereas Symphony of the Night, I know it's a decently beefy game.
Well, I mean, I've got to do the same thing. I'm sticking by my logic here. I've never played Final Fantasy 9. I cannot comfortably say, even if it probably is the better game, yeah, it's Symphony of the Night. If you asked me 3 years ago, hey, do you want to play Symphony of the Night? Show me like a bit of gameplay, or do you want to play Final Fantasy 9? I would jump straight to Castlevania, and that's just my taste. I just think it looks great, it sounds great, it plays great, and it's not as much of a kind of, okay, let's absorb ourselves into a massive 40+ hour thing.
I mean, I think the simplest terms that I can rationalize as to why I'd pick one over the other is this is a dumb analogy, but it makes the most sense to me.
Okay.
You have Symphony of the Night is like The Matrix, and Final Fantasy 9 is like Lord of the Rings, where it's like you have an experience over here that's action-packed, fun, really heartfelt, like futuristic, cool art style, really awesome stuff, and then over here you have the same thing, but it's
you need 12 hours.
But you need a lot of time, and so both experiences exist in their own fields where they're both great, and obviously this just comes down to our opinion and feelings.
Yeah. I think, actually, now that I think about it, I think maybe over the years, I think the timelessness of Final Fantasy 9 is going to hold up more. I think it's going to be a case of people are going to have more fond memories in the next kind of couple of decades of something like that, more than Symphony of the Night.
9 is this, I call it the sleeper hit, but really it's like, it's objectively the one that a lot of people love that not a lot of people talk about because of the other pillars that have taken the success of the franchise.
So since you have to vote.
With that said, I'm still going to probably go with Symphony of the Night, just because that's my vote. Just because I think that overall, again, it's more consumable, more digestible, and that's come from someone who had more nostalgia with 9 and recently played Symphony of the Night.
Anyone else?
Yeah, my vote's Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, I think we're all on agreement there. What are you going to say?
Silent Hill.
No, I want to make some things clear. Final Fantasy IX is a beautiful game, and I adore the art style, and I'm sorry.
Fucking better.
But I really should not be in this.
I'm really going to also vote for Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Boom, clean sweep.
This particular round, while it was well talked about and well debated, was my least favorite.
Mm-hmm.
None of these games should be here except for Silent Hill.
Yeah.
It should have been Ape Escape.
To be fair,
should have been Silent Hill. That should have been RE2. RE2 would have cleaned the losers bracket.
As someone who loves the PS1, some of these going up against each other were just cruel. This is horrible and brutal. I feel terrible. But if you have to pick, you have to pick, and that's just
welcome to Madness.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
It just speaks to the quality of the PlayStation 1's library that these games are in the losers bracket.
Get the f*** out of here. Get the Ape Escape my ass.
Who do you think should have gone on to the losers finals? Please let us know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, as always, please remember to like and subscribe for more episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. And we're still holding that contest to win a PS4 Pro and PlayStation Classic for a limited time, so please check it out.